Wizards of the Coast has just released all of the details for the upcoming August Secret Lair Superdrop. We're talking 7 different secret layers. We're talking textured foils. We're talking a tribute to Jaya Ballard. And, most interestingly of all, Elder Dragon Legends.
Magic. I am a wizard! History. I'm an old wizard! The magic historian. My bones hurt.
Greetings, owners of fine luxury cardboard rectangles, my friends. I hope the day finds you well because we have gathered to talk about the newest Secret Lair Superdrop, and there is a bunch of awesome stuff to look at. But before we dive in, just want to let you know that TCG Player was just purchased by eBay for over $200 million. And we will cover this in an upcoming news video, but I am going to be doing an exploratory live stream on my other YouTube channel, Hatcher. So if you want to check that out, you're welcome to come on by. That being said, let us go ahead and dive into the insanity of the secret layers. So the first secret layer we're taking a look at is Dan Frazier's Back Again Allied Talismans. So in this one you get the Talisman of Impulse, Indulgence, Progress, Dominance, and Unity. These were originally printed in Mirrodin and honestly weren't that big a deal when they initially came out. They're a cycle of artifacts that tap for a colorless mana or tap to add 1 mana of either 2 colors and does 1 damage to you. So in some ways, it's similar to the Pain lands that we've seen previously in Magic, right? But ultimately, these weren't a big deal when they initially released, but over time became a big deal and highly desirable. So Wizards has redone them with this stylized artwork. They look pretty sweet. I have to say though, the Talisman of Impulse totally gives me like Star Trek sort of battleship vibes, right? It's got that alien UFO blasting a laser in the middle kind of vibe, where the rest of them feel more like gemstones. I mean, that's just a personal taste kind of thing. But when it comes to secret layers, this one and the enemy secret layer as well, because we've got the enemy talismans too, are the least exciting of the batch, right? It's really just boils down to how much you like the different artwork and how much you want these talismans specifically. I definitely do enjoy the artwork that's done here, and I specifically find with the enemy ones that the Talisman of Resilience really stands out as being super interesting to me as an insect, but the Talisman of Conviction kind of comes across as fairly boring art-wise, although the Talisman of Hierarchy is also a really strange one with that sort of opening orb on a pedestal. Like, that doesn't even really feel like a talisman the same way, but the artwork is super evocative, right? Now, those are the least interesting secret layers. Let's move on to talking about the artist series ones. We're going to talk first of all about Victor Adame Minguez's secret layer. There's an interesting selection here. So we have Compost, which is 1 green and 1 for an enchantment that says whenever a black card's put into an opponent's graveyard from anywhere, you may draw a card. So obviously a fantastic black hoser. They don't even have to have the cards go from play. They can literally discard black cards from their hand and you get to draw cards. The flavor text says, the dead ones join Tocatli, the 7-legged, each bloom becoming a star in the night sky. And that's the Song of Origins. I mean, this doesn't seem like a great way to join up with somebody, to become a part of a spider's compost pile. I'm not down with this. All right, what else do we have? We have Knight Exemplar, 2 white and 1 for a 2/2 human knight with first strike. Other knights you control get +1/+1 and have indestructible. At first blush, this might not seem that strong, but the indestructibility gets really obnoxious once you get 2 of these on the board, because they don't grant indestructibility to themselves, but they do grant it to each other, and that's where it gets really silly. And I have to say as well, the artwork on this is absolutely gorgeous. That knight standing there with their epic blade in front of these stained glass windows with the light shining through, and you can see it looks like cavalry and troops behind her even though she's alone. So together, her in the foreground and the stained glass in the background combine to make this like mobilized troop unit design, which I really dig. After that, we've got Knight of the White Orchid. This is 2 white for a 2/2 first strike. When it enters the battlefield, if an opponent has more lands than you, you can search your library for a plains card, put it onto the battlefield, and then shuffle. This is a very solid ability. I have to say, though, not a fan of this artwork. It very much feels like a Star Wars sort of zipping along. I don't even know what you call them because I'm not that familiar with Star Wars, but it definitely doesn't feel like normal traditional Magic to me. So for me, that one, not so much, right? Now the next one, the Lord of the Undead, it also does have a similar kind of technological vibe, but instead of having a Star Wars vibe, this one actually has a Mad Max vibe, right? So Lord of the Undead is 2 black and 1 for a 2/2 zombie. Other zombies you control get +1/+1. Pay 1 black and 1 and tap it. Return target zombie card from your graveyard to your hand. Flavor text says, all of life's problems can be solved, death included. And that's Namara, the Radozi Dreadlord. All right, I mean, it's a pretty standard little bit of flavor text. The idea behind this, I like the fact that the Lord of the Undead is shown with this pale flesh and this black outfit with a little bit of kind of miasma rising up off of her hand. But the rest of the troops are shown as just completely mud-strewn the same way that the vehicles are. So you get like this very striking sort of setup where the Lord of the Undead stands out and everything else is mud around it. I really dig that vibe. Moving on, we have another awesome secret lair in the form of imaginary friends. This is so silly and cool. So you get the Gitrog monster for a black, a green, and 3. He's a 6/6 with Death Touch. At the beginning of your upkeep, sacrifice him unless you sack a land. You can play an additional land on each of your turns, and whenever one or more lands are put into your graveyard from anywhere, draw a card. So the Gitrog monster has been a fan favorite ever since he showed up, and I love the idea of reimagining these as imaginary friends, right? The Gitrog monster is now far less dangerous feeling, but look in his mouth, you can see some kind of tail is sticking out of there. He's not completely harmless, but he's got that like child storybook aspect to him, which I really dig. The Matter Reshaper is next. For a colorless and 2, you get a 3/2 Eldrazi. When it dies, reveal the top card of your library. You may put that card onto the battlefield if it's a permanent that costs 3 or less. Otherwise, put it into your hand. So you either get to draw or free cast off of it. Flavor text says, its powers are simple. Mind over matter. Or rather, an immeasurable mind disassembling and reconfiguring matter. That is a funky concept. And I love this weird little artwork. This is a matter reshaper? Okay. Is its body constantly shifting into different things? As a kid, is this some little creature that shows up and it touched his pencil and his pencil turned into a snake and squiggled off the desk and Billy was having a great time until he realized that it was going to mess up his entire home. It's got that fun vibe, right? And then we've got Peer and Toothy, the inseparable combo that we originally saw in the days of Battle Bond. So Peer, the imaginative rascal, is 1 black and 2 for a 1/1. He has partner with Toothy, and what that means is when you cast either one of these creatures, you can actually go through your deck for the other one. So when you cast Peer, you actually get to search through your deck for Toothy and put it into your hand. And Peer also says, if one or more counters will be put on a permanent your team controls, that many +1 of each of those kinds of counters are put on that permanent instead. So this is fun because it doesn't just include you, it includes like your whole team. And the artwork shows Peer with this huge, gigantic tooth from his imaginary friend Toothy. And Toothy exists specifically because Peer basically conjured him up magically, which is really cool. So To the Imaginary Friend is 1 blue and 3 for a 1/1. It has partner with Peer. Whenever you draw a card, put a +1/+1 counter on Toothy. When Toothy leaves the battlefield, draw a card for each 1/+1/+1 counter on it. Flavor text says, go ahead, tell it that it isn't real. That's fun. Oh, what's the flavor text on Peer? Peer always had a very big imagination. Yes, this is great. It totally has that storybook vibe. And out of all the partners from Battle Bond, these are the ones that people genuinely desire. So choosing these for the secret lair, absolutely great choice. Moving on, we have the other artist series that we're going to talk about today, and that is Nils Hamm. So the first item is Contagion Engine. 6 casting cost artifact. When it enters the battlefield, put a -1/-1 counter on each creature target player controls. So you can pick your opponent and go, dude, all your creatures get a -1/-1. And then pay 4 mana, proliferate, then proliferate again. Basically, proliferate allows you to add an extra counter to every permanent that already has a counter. So basically the idea behind this is you're going to put -1/-1 counters on your opponent's creatures, and then you're going to double proliferate. So you're going to get to add another -1/-1 to each of your opponent's creatures, and then another -1/-1 to each of your opponent's creatures. And let's say you have +1/+1 counters on your guys or something like that. You can increase those. If you have counters on yourself, you can increase those. Contagion Engine is an awesome card. The flavor text says, deep into that darkness peering, long I stood there, wondering, fearing. Oh, it's a quote from The Raven, nevermore, Edgar Allan Poe. That's cool. I'm down with that. And the artwork shows, oh, you know what? Oh, what are the creatures? What is this making me think of? There is something from the Eventide set or whatever. It's not a boggle, is it? It's this cute little dude wandering through a forest, and he's draping these little glowing things. Gilderbairn? I think that's what it is. These dudes have Gilderbairn vibes. But look, he's walking up to this little ball of contagion, and he's about to like poke it, and you can see all these people behind him like, what is that? They're all, what is this wondrous thing? And when he pokes it, nightmare and plague will belch forward onto everyone. That is epic. And what a great time to have it coming back when Phyrexia is in full effect. Next, we've got the Deep Glow Skate. This is 1 blue and 4 for a 3/3. When it enters the battlefield, double the number of each kind of counter on any number of target permanents. So it's like a proliferate, but massively stepped up. Instead of just adding one more counter, you get to double down. The flavor text says, blue, glossy green, and velvet black. They coiled and swam, and every track was a fish of golden fire. Oh, it's the Rime of the Ancient Mariner. Okay, so are we just going with like poem quotes on this? That's cool. All right, Tireless Tracker. Look at, oh, you know what? I'm skipping the artwork on Deep Glow Skate. Look at, you got the merfolk there with the little dude in a little crazy seahorse suit swimming by. They're like the Gilderbairns. Nils Hamm must have done the Gilderbairn. Yes, we're getting Gilderbairn. Is it literally the Gilderbairn going on an adventure? Did it just click into my head that this is the Gilderbairn? Oh, yes! The Gilderbairn with his little friend touching the contagion engine. The Gilderbairn swimming as a seahorse. I'm in love. Tireless Tracker. Oh, he's on like a little axe beak. No. 1 green and 2 for a 3/2. Whenever whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you get to investigate, which means you make a clue token, an artifact you can sack for 2 mana to draw a card. And whenever you sack a clue, put a +1/+1 counter on Tireless Tracker. Tell me, Muse, of that man, so ready at need, who wandered far and wide. And that's from the Odyssey. Look at the artwork. The Gilderbairn, he's got his own little axe beak style chocobo. I love this so much. Sword of Truth and Justice. No way the Gilderbairn finds a magical sword. I can't even handle this. 3 Castigos equipment. Equipped creature gets +2/+2. Protection from white and blue. Whenever equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, put a +1/+1 counter on a creature you control, then proliferate. And it equips for 2. Ha! This is amazing. The name of it, said the lady, 'tis Excalibur. It's the lady in the lake. Oh, it's an Excalibur scene. The lady in the lake is giving the sword of truth and justice to the Gilderbairn. Oh, this is the best thing ever. Oh, that's so awesome. This secret lair is epic. And the sword of truth and justice being in here is so cool. Look at the artwork too. It's so good. You've got the lady in this beam of sunlight holding out the blade to him out of the water. And you have these other individuals who are reclining up against this tree. Nils Hamm, I'm sure I ruined his name. His work is so good. I love this so much. Okay, let's move on to the next secret layer. Now we're doing Jaya Ballard in Memoriam. And if you didn't know, Jaya is no longer with us. I cover all the details in the epic Dominaria United story over on Fantasy Geographic. If you haven't checked it out, it's the best story in Magic history for the last 3 or 4 years bare minimum. So go check it out. I'll leave a link for you at the end. Let's take a look at what we're doing to memorialize Jaya. So, we've got her here as the original 3 red and 2 casting cost planeswalker. And you can see her in her young version, which I love. We're going to see her age throughout this, right? So, +1 ability. Add 3 red mana, spend this mana to only cast instant or sorcery spells. +1, discard up to 3 cards, draw that many cards. -8, you get an emblem. That emblem says you can cast instants and sorceries from your graveyard. And if you cast spells this way, they get exiled instead of going back to the graveyard. Super strong, super awesome. Jaya Ballard looks really sweet in this artwork with the flames whipping around her. All of the artwork in the Secret Lair is great. The next is Jaya's Immolating Inferno. 2 red and X for a legendary sorcery. You can cast a legendary sorcery only if you control a legendary creature or planeswalker. I never liked this mechanic. I found it to be too restrictive. Jaya's Immolating Inferno deals X damage to each of up to 3 targets. So, it is pretty powerful in that you get to hit 3 targets without having to pay additional mana to do so, like with a fireball, but that legendary restriction is weak. The flavor text says, the mirror's shards sparkled like starfire, and a legend was reborn. I mean, look at that artwork. Look at her eyes. The Inferno is like literally embodying her eyes. I just love it. This like tilted back angle. You've got this like broken glass, it looks like. Oh, this is awesome artwork. I may not like the mechanic of the card, but I really, really like this artwork. Actually, this is my favorite artwork out of the entire Secret Lair, hands down. After that, we've got Pyretic Ritual. 1 red and 1 for an instant adds 3 red mana. So red mana acceleration. Flavor text says, sometimes, students, right makes might. That is a fun play on words. Might makes right. Change the word of right to magical right. Yes, that's great. So, taking a look at the artwork, you can see Jaya here raising up her hand, massive flame, coruscating out of it. Absolutely love it, right? And this is something people are probably going to want multiple copies of because you don't just play 1 Pyretic Ritual. After that, we've got Pyromancer's Goggles. 5 casting cost legendary artifact. Taps to add a red mana. When that mana is spent to cast a red instant or sorcery spell, copy that spell, and you may choose new targets for the copy. So, it does cost a lot of mana to put out, but it does give you mana acceleration, and more importantly, it lets you copy extra spells. So this is a really feel-good artifact, even if it isn't the most powerful, and I mean, they're literally Pyromancer's Goggles. You can see that Jaya's been rocking those for like forever, right? Flavor text says, the strongest mentorships kindle the passions of both students and teacher. Yeah, Jaya, Chandra, that's what we're talking about here. The artwork is literally just the goggles being put in somebody's hands. It's not the most exciting artwork, really, but it's fine. As a card, really cool concept. And the final card is Repercussion. This one's the most interesting in the Secret Lair because this was originally printed in the Ursus block and has not seen a reprint since. And this is where most of the value of the Secret Lair is located. So 2 red and 1 for an enchantment that says, whenever creatures dealt damage, Repercussion deals that much damage to that creature's controller. Things get absolutely wild with this enchantment out. Flavor text says, tyrants will always suffer consequences. My favorite are the fiery ones. Yeah. Jaya set like everybody on fire in the Dominaria United story. She pulled her weight so hard, and her losing her life actually felt genuinely impactful. I love that this Secret Lair starts with her in her youth and ends with her in her like old age. It's perfect. What a great Secret Lair to pay tribute to this fallen planeswalker. Now let's talk about the one I'm most stoked about, and that is the Showcase Dominaria United. My jaw dropped. The original 5 Elder Dragon Legends are back, reprinted in stained glass. These were originally in my favorite set, Legends, printed back in 1994. And actually, one of these Elder Dragons I cracked from a booster pack, and everybody in the store went wild. Because, just so you know, when these guys originally came out, they were more desirable and more valuable than Black Lotus. This was it. This is what people wanted the most in the entire game when Legends came out. These dragons were like king level. So, diving in, we've got Arcades Sabbath. He's 2 blue, 2 white, 2 green, and 2. Every Elder Dragon costs 8 mana. They all are 3 colors, have 2 of those colors in their casting cost, and have a huge upkeep cost as well. So, they're a 7/7 flyer. You have to understand that when Magic started, giant creatures came with big drawbacks. So the drawback of just having to pay some mana during the upkeep was small compared to what you had to do for other creatures. Now, Arcady Sabbath is a 7/7 flyer. You have to pay a green, a white, and a blue every upkeep or sack 'em. And each untapped creature you control gets +0/+2 as long as it's not attacking. You may not be familiar with it, but this is essentially the old enchantment castle, all right? And then his other ability is pay 1 mana. Arcady Sabbath gets +0/+1 until end of turn. So you can pump his toughness like crazy. And I love the fact that the artwork shows Arcady Sabbath holding up like a little kingdom, like a little castle, when his ability is actually a castle effect. And that moon in the background, the artwork is absolutely breathtaking. After that, we've got Chromium. This is the black, blue, white version. He has Flying Rampage 2. That's a travesty. If you guys don't know what Rampage 2 is, let me tell you about the worst ability in Magic the Gathering. Rampage works like this. For every creature that blocks a creature past the first one, the creature gets the Rampage bonus. So, for Chromium's Rampage to matter at all, you have to block it with 2 creatures. And then he gets +2/+2. That's it. That's what Rampage says. So if you block with 3 creatures, then he's going to get +4/+4. So you can see, why would you ever block with a bunch of creatures? You won't. Plus he has flying. So while he was very cool as a giant metallic dragon, he was the most underwhelming of all the dragons because Rampage is the worst ability ever created for Magic that was meant to be a positive ability. There are abilities that are worse that have downsides that were meant to be negative abilities. But in terms of positive abilities, literally nothing is worse in Magic than Rampage 2. After that, we've got Nicol Bolas. It's Bolas. Actually, you know what? Before we even talk about Epic Helix, got to take a moment to say Chromium's artwork is absolutely incredible, and it gives me heavy old school Quentin Hoover vibes. Chromium reared up like this epically says, I should be way more impressive and powerful than I am. Oh, it's a shame that he's not stronger. Anyways, Nicol Bolas is black, red, blue. 7/7 flyer. Obviously, his ability, when he deals damage to an opponent, that player discards their hand. Look at the difference between Chromiums. If you block me with 2 guys, I get +2/+2, versus if I hit you, you pitch your entire hand. Nicol Bolas was the fan favorite out of all the Elder Dragon Legends. He was the biggest, baddest, most desirable. And the stained glass artwork with this maelstrom kind of spinning around him and him in front of it with that epic sort of arrogant Bolas vibe. Like, what? What are you going to do about it? I am the Emperor. It's awesome. Absolutely awesome. Then we've got Vevictus Asmadi. This is the Elder Dragon that I actually cracked in my booster pack. I was playing a 120 card green deck, being a super noob at the time. Everybody in the store went wild, so instead of trading it away like I should have for a bunch of good stuff for my deck, I decided to put 3 mountains and 3 swamps. Yes, you heard that correctly. 120 card green deck, and my simple noob brain went 3 mountains and 3 mountains and 3 swamps will definitely be enough to hard cast this, right? I will get 2 of each of those lands and get them out. By the way, I never hard cast this dragon once in my entire life. I had to come up with insane maneuvers to get him out. I had to keep him in my hand until I could discard a card, right? So I go up to 8 cards, I discard him into my graveyard, then I attack with one of my creatures. This plan needs my opponent to block with a wall. So they have to block my creature with their wall, and then I play Glyph of Reincarnation on their wall. So I'm playing an instant in my deck designed to target an opponent's wall to bring this dragon back from my graveyard in exchange for the creature that's being blocked by the wall. That is the insane noob hoops that my brain jumped through. So Vevictus coming back, I have to get this card. I have to get all of these for my cube. They're incredible. The artwork's awesome. The original Vevictus artwork was just its head. It was so garbage. The artwork was so trash. Anyways, the next one is Palladium. Oh, I didn't even say what Vevictus does. Triple fire breathing. So fire breathes for black, red, and green. And let me tell you, when you get this on the board and you pump 30 mana into it and berserk and attack for 70 some odd damage, you start slapping the table like a walrus. It feels so good. Anyways, Palladium Moors is the white, green, red one. 7/7 flying trample. Look at that. Think about just the difference of something as simple as Trample versus Rampage 2. You can see the Elder Dragons are really all over the place in terms of power level, and they show the quaint design idiosyncrasies that existed back in the earliest days of Magic. So, that wraps up all of the super drops. I am going to be doing that live stream, like I mentioned, exploring the whole TCG Player eBay buyout scenario. So that'll be on my other channel, Hatcher. You can come and check that out if you want to. I'll leave a link on the screen and a link to the Dominaria United story if you'd like to know why Jaya Ballard now has her own special secret lair. Thanks for coming by, my friends. Big shout out to my patrons, and I will see you all in the next video.